Okay, the student, this is electrolysis part 2. Now we'll start with electrolysis of molten lead bromide. Now as you can see, I've already written the process here. So the electrolyte we are using here is molten lead bromide. Material for the electrodes we take as graphite plates, both cathode and anode. Temperature of the electrolyte, it should be above 380 degrees Celsius. That is in fact the melting point of lead bromide. Electrolytic cell is made up of silica. So that is silica crucible. Silica means silicon dioxide. It is a major component of sand. So it's largely present in sand. And then electrolytic dissociation. So as soon as electricity passes through the cathode and anode, then that dissociation takes place. So lead bromide, so Pb Br2 dissociates, so we will get Pb 2 plus, and bromine, bromide is -1, so there are 2 bromine, so we will write here 2. And then reaction at cathode, so at cathode lead ions will be discharged, so Pb2 plus will gain 2 electrons, and there will be a deposit of lead. So it, in fact, it's a grayish white, or you can say silvery white. So you'll have a grayish white deposit at the cathode, and reaction at the anode, bromide ion will lose electron and will form bromine atom. But as you know, chlorine, bromine, iodine, or other gases also like hydrogen, oxygen, they always stay in a diatomic state. So naturally this bromine atom will react with another bromine atom that will be discharged. So we'll take another bromine atom, bromine ion, losing electron, and you get a bromine atom. Now this two bromine atom reacts to give a bromine molecule, and you get as a bromine vapor, and this is a reddish brown vapor. Okay, reddish brown or reddish vapor. Okay. Now in any electrolytic reaction, these are the three main parts. So always, you should practice this reaction, because generally they ask these reactions, what are the reaction at the cathode, what are the reaction at the anode more specifically. Okay, now note, now why we are using silica crucible. Silica crucible is used since it is non-reactive, so it is unreactive, so it does not react with lead bromide, which is kept as an electrolyte in the vessel, and also can withstand high temperature, because it's a very high temperature, 380 degrees Celsius. It can withstand high temperature, and is also means almost non-conductor of electricity. So it is a non-conductor of electricity, so the vessel does not conduct electricity. And then why we use graphite anode? Graphite anode is preferred because it is inert, it's unreactive, and is unaffected by highly reactive bromine vapor. So you can understand at anode we are getting bromine vapor. Now this bromine, they are chlorine, bromine, they are very highly reactive. So it may react if I take any other type of anode, like say copper or zinc, or any other type of metals anode. So they will react. So therefore we use graphite. Graphite anode is preferred because it is inert and is unaffected by highly reactive bromine vapors. Okay, understand? Okay, now next it is electrolysis of acidified water. Pure water is a bad conductor of electricity, so electrolysis cannot be done in pure water, and hence to make water a good conductor of electricity, we add some few drops of sulfuric acid. So therefore the electrolyte here is water acidified with few drops of dilute sulfuric acid. Material of electrodes is platinum foil, both cathode and anode. Electrolytic dissociation, here water will dissociate as H plus and OH minus, and H2SO4 sulfuric acid will also dissociate as H plus and SO4 2 minus. Okay. Now reaction at cathode, hydrogen will go towards cathode, so H plus will gain electron from the cathode, so naturally another hydrogen will be formed, means will discharge H, and this two hydrogen, H plus H, will give you hydrogen, and which evolve as gas. Now reaction at anode, you know that both OH and SO4 2 minus will migrate towards anode, but OH being lower in the electrochemical series will be discharged with preference to sulfate ions. So here what will happen, sulfate ions will not discharge, but OH ions will discharge. And as I have told you in my first video that how OH will discharge, in fact altogether 4 OH will lose 4 electrons and we get 4 OH, and this 4 OH, they collectively react with each other and you get 2 molecules of water and 1 molecule of oxygen. So we can say final product is hydrogen and oxygen. So hydrogen we are getting at cathode and oxygen at anode. Now let us see overall reaction, how it happens. Now water, after splitting, what we are getting hydrogen and we are getting oxygen. So if you balance this, we get this. So finally we can say that we always get 2 volume of hydrogen and 1 volume of oxygen. 2 volume of hydrogen we get at cathode, and 1 volume of oxygen we get at anode. Okay. So finally the ratio of hydrogen and oxygen that will be formed here will be always in the ratio of 2:1. That means if you get hydrogen 2 liter, then oxygen will be 1 liter. If you get hydrogen 20 liter, then oxygen will be 10 liter. So finally you can say that the ratio of the product, that's hydrogen is to oxygen, is in the ratio of 2:1 by volume, where hydrogen is produced at the cathode and oxygen is produced at the anode. Okay, understand? Okay, now next is electrolysis of aqueous copper sulfate solution using platinum anode. Now the electrolysis of copper sulfate can be done using 2 types of anode. One by using platinum anode and the second by using copper anode. Now although in ICC syllabus this platinum anode is excluded, only copper anode is in the syllabus, but I advise my students to just do both. Is no harm in doing, so that you can understand in a better way. So here as an electrolyte we are taking as aqueous copper sulfate solution. Material of electrodes, the platinum anode, so that means the anode is the main part here. So anode has to be in platinum, and cathode can be either platinum or copper, because platinum is costly, so you can replace it with copper cathode also. But the main thing is that the anode should be platinum. In this case platinum means inert, so it should be inert. So anode should be inert, so therefore we use platinum here. Now electrolytic dissociation, as you see, in copper sulfate will dissociate as Cu2 plus and SO4 2 minus. Similarly water will also dissociate as H plus and OH minus ions, and then reaction at cathode, as you know that both hydrogen and copper will migrate towards cathode, but copper being lower in the electrochemical series will be discharged, so Cu2 plus will gain electrons, will gain 2 electrons, and you will get a reddish deposit on the cathode. And reaction at anode also, that sulfate and hydroxyl ion both will migrate, but hydroxyl being lower will be discharged. So ultimately what happens, 4OH will lose 4 electrons, and will get 4OH molecule. But since OH does not exist in free state, this 4OH will react with each other. So ultimately this 4OH reacts with each other and you get 2 molecules of water and 1 molecule of oxygen. So finally we can say that the product is copper at cathode and oxygen at anode. Now in this case what happens, as the electrolysis reaction progresses, the blue color of the copper sulfate slowly it fades away and ultimately it becomes colorless. Now why? That copper sulfate is blue in color. Okay, copper sulfate solution is blue in color. So you have a blue solution here, and these are the cathode and anode. So anode and cathode. So you can see what happens, that copper sulfate CuSO4 is forming Cu2 plus and SO4 2 minus, and if you see this Cu2 plus is going towards the cathode, gaining electrons and forming copper metal, and this copper metal is they stick to this plate and form a reddish brown coating on the cathode. So you can understand copper sulfate is constantly, it is decomposing, it is dissociating into copper ions, and this copper ions is in fact going to the cathode and it is becoming neutral and forming reddish brown copper metal. So ultimately as the reaction progresses, the copper sulfate is splitting into copper ions and this copper ions getting discharged, and the blue color in the copper sulfate is due to this Cu2 plus ions that is present. So finally what happens, the concentration of the Cu2 plus ion in the solution is decreasing, because this is getting deposited as copper metal, as a neutral copper metal, so it changes from copper ions to copper metal at the cathode. So finally what is happening, you can see from copper sulfate it is splitting to get copper ions, and this copper ion is getting discharged. So slowly what happens, the concentration of the copper ions in the solution, in this blue solution, is decreasing, and therefore the blue color slowly fades. And when ultimately all the copper is discharged, so finally the solution becomes colorless. Understand? And that means copper sulfate is finished, and when copper sulfate is finished, then electrolysis of water will take place after that. So that is the reason the blue color slowly fades away and ultimately it turns colorless. Okay, now this is electrolysis of aqueous copper sulfate solution using copper anode now. So previously we have done, in the last example we have done with platinum anode, and platinum, that is an inert electrode, but here we are using copper anode, which is an active electrode. So as usual, electrolyte is aqueous copper sulfate solution. Material of electrodes, here we have copper, both cathode and anode. Electrolytic dissociation, copper sulfate and water will dissociate as usual. Reaction at cathode will be as usual, because copper will be discharged, because copper is below hydrogen. So copper will be discharged at the cathode as a coating of reddish brown metal. Now reaction at anode, what will happen here? In this case, both sulfate and hydroxyl ions, they migrate towards anode, but neither of them will discharge due to the nature of anode. In my first video I've explained to you about active electron and inactive electrodes. Active electrode means which itself take parts and which itself loses electron to form ions. So here what will happen, since copper, we are using copper anode, so that anode is an active anode. So although both of them will go towards anode, but neither of them will be discharged, because copper itself will lose electron and it will itself release Cu2 plus ions. That means that copper anode itself will lose 2 electrons each atom, and it will release Cu2 plus ions, and which remains added up in the solution. Okay, so understand what is happening. So if you see, this is the cathode and anode. So try to understand CuSO4, okay, splitting into Cu2 plus and SO4 2 minus, and water, both are splitting, but this copper is actually, this Cu2 plus is going towards cathode, here, gaining electrons, and it is sticking as a reddish brown metal, making a coat on this. And on the other hand, in anode what happened, both SO4 and hydroxyl ion, they both run towards anode, but neither of them get discharged, because this copper anode itself will lose electron, and after losing electron it will form Cu2 plus ions, and that Cu2 plus ion is released from this anode. So from this anode Cu2 plus ion is getting released every time, per molecule, every time it is released. So finally you can understand, from copper sulfate, copper ions is discharged at the cathode, and from copper anode, copper ion gets added up again in the solution. So you can understand that the concentration of Cu2 plus ion in the solution is always is in equilibrium, so it's not changing, because from one hand, from copper sulfate, Cu2 plus ion is getting discharged at the cathode, and from the other hand Cu2 plus ion is released from the anode to the solution. So ultimately the concentration of the copper ions in this blue solution remains same, and therefore the blue color of this copper ions, the blue color of this copper sulfate does not fade in this case. If you remember, in the platinum case, in the platinum anode, the blue color, as I have told you, the blue color of copper sulfate slowly fades. It is due to these copper ions. But you can understand the mechanism here, what is happening here. So ultimately, so in this case the blue color do not fades, because the number of copper ions which gets discharged at anode from the solution is replaced by the same number of copper ions, Cu2 plus ions, released from anode, and hence the total concentration of copper ions in the solution remains same, and therefore the blue color of the copper sulfate do not discharge. Okay, understand? Okay, now is application of electrolysis. So in our everyday life, this electrolysis has a very important applications, and the three major applications are electroplating, electrorefining, and electrometallurgy. Electroplating means coating of a superior metal on an inferior metal, to look better, and also to protect from corrosion or rusting. So generally you can see that on iron article nickel is coated, or in a brass article, in a bronze article it is coated with silver, just to look them attractive and just to prevent them from corrosion. So that process is called electroplating. Electrorefining means purifying of impure metals. So if metals are impure, we can purify them by the process of electrolysis, and that is called electrorefining of metals. And the third is electrometallurgy. Electrometallurgy means extraction of metals from their ores by the process of electrolysis. Okay. Now we'll discuss about these two process. Now this process will be discussed. It's not in this chapter. It will be discussed in the extraction of aluminium chapter in metallurgy. Okay, so you have metallurgy in your syllabus, so that we'll study later. So as I have told you, electroplating means coating of a superior metal on an inferior metal so that it looks better, it looks attractive, and also to protect from corrosion. Now to understand the concept of electroplating, let us once more go back to this electrolysis of copper sulfate using copper anode, if you remember. Okay, just try to understand again just the previous electrolysis that I have explained you just now. I am going back. If you remember, this is anode, this is cathode. So in that case we used both copper, anode and cathode both as copper. In the solution what we had copper sulfate CuSO4 and we have water. Okay, and what was happening? CuSO4, Cu plus 2 and SO4 2 minus, H2O was also dissociating, H plus and OH minus, and reaction at cathode, what was happening at cathode? Both Cu2 plus and H plus ions migrate towards cathode, but who will discharge Cu? So Cu2 plus 2 electron and Cu. So what happens? This copper sulfate go towards this copper cathode and gaining 2 electrons, and it is getting deposited there. And at anode what happens? At anode both SO4 and OH minus migrate towards anode, but neither of them discharge because this copper anode itself releasing Cu2 plus ions. So what was happening? Copper anode itself releasing electrons, losing electrons, and it is forming Cu2 plus ions, and which is getting added up in the solution. So you can understand constantly what is happening. Copper ions is getting discharged at the cathode and sticking on it, and copper ions from the anode is released. So there is an equilibrium. Copper ions is coming here and it is getting deposited. It is coming here and it is getting deposited. So you can understand this is the concept of electroplating. Now just try to understand, if I replace this copper plate and if I use any other material, a stainless steel material, say a spoon. Now what will happen? The copper ion will go towards cathode on the spoon, and it will gain electrons and it will form copper metal, and it will slowly it will stick. Means it should be immersed totally. Okay, so totally the part immersed will be coated with copper. So that is the concept of electroplating. So the three things you have to remember while electroplating. What? The first thing is that article to be plated. So very important, article to be plated should be kept as cathode. So you have understood the article to be plated. It should be kept at cathode, as cathode. So it should be negative terminal, coated as negative terminal. Okay. Second thing, the metal with which the article has to be plated, the metal with which the article is to be plated is kept as anode. So naturally the copper ions should release and then the copper ion will deposit. So ultimately we should have the metal with which the article is to be plated. With that metal the anode has to be made. So the anode is to be made with that metal. Okay. And the third is that electrolyte. The electrolyte also should contain the metallic ions. The electrolyte should contain the metallic ion with which we has to be plated. So you can understand, we are plating this spoon with copper. So this electrolyte should contain copper ions. Now if we want to electroplate this spoon with silver, then this electrolyte should contain silver ions. If we want to coat this spoon with nickel, then this electrolyte should contain nickel ions. Understand? So very important part. Okay, now we'll do electroplating with nickel first. So electrolyte, we use nickel sulfate solution, that's aqueous solution. Material of cathode, the cathode article to be plated, will keep it as cathode. And the material of anode, it should be thin bar of pure nickel. And then electrolytic dissociation, nickel sulfate will dissociate as nickel ions and sulfate ions. Water will dissociate as H plus and OH minus. Reaction at cathode. Now in this case what happens, hydrogen is below nickel, but in this case hydrogen will not discharge because the concentration of nickel ion is much higher than the concentration of hydrogen ion. So since the concentration is higher, in this case nickel is preferably discharged with hydrogen, means with preference to hydrogen. So in this case nickel gains electron, go towards cathode, it gains electrons and then it deposit on the article. So it deposit on the article. So this is the spoon and it is kept as cathode, and this is pure nickel kept as anode. So pure nickel strip, and then it is connected, and then this is nickel sulfate, NiSO4 and water solution. So you can understand Ni plus 2 plus, that is formed from splitting of nickel sulfate, that goes towards the spoon and then it gets deposited. And at anode what happens, again nickel is an active electrode, so nickel will itself loses electron, and both sulfate and hydroxyl will migrate towards anode, but neither of them will be discharged as it is. So nickel ions will be released from here, Ni2 plus. So this process will continue. Nickel will constantly be released from this pure nickel bar, and the nickel ions will constantly be get deposited as free nickel metal, and this process will continue. And we generally continue the electroplating according to how much thickness we require. So more time you give, more thicker will be the electroplating. And always naturally DC current, direct current, like from battery we use a current, we don't use an AC current that we use on a household, because in AC current the positive negative constantly change, so cathode and anode will constantly change. So we don't use AC current, we use a DC current, and we generally use weak current and for a long time. Now weak current and for a long time means the deposition will be very slow and smooth. Okay, so therefore, these are the conditions for electroplating. Understand? Okay, next is electroplating with silver. Now here we use electrolyte as sodium argentocyanide. Commonly also we say as sodium silver cyanide. So it is NaAgCN whole twice solution, naturally aqueous solution. Material of cathode, again that article to be plated we should keep as cathode. Material of anode, thin strip of pure silver. electrolytic dissociation. So NaAgCN whole twice, how we dissociate? Na plus, Ag becomes splits to Ag plus, and cyanide, you know, Cn is -1, so Cn -1, and we have 2 Cn, so we write here 2. Then water also dissociate as usual, H plus and OH minus. Reaction at cathode is as usual, out of sodium, silver and hydrogen, silver is lower in the electrochemical series, so Ag plus 1 gains electron and form Ag, and it deposited at the article. And reaction at anode, here again silver is a active electrode, so it releases electron and it forms Ag plus, so it gets added up in the solution, okay, as usual. But sometimes this important question comes, that why we use this complex salt, sodium argentocyanide. We can also use silver nitrate, because silver nitrate also split and it will give you Ag plus and NO3 minus, so we can get Ag plus there also. But why you use this? Now the thing is that AgNO3 splits, means it decomposes. When electricity is passed in AgNO3, it decomposes very fast, and since it decomposes very fast, Ag plus also deposits very quickly. So this AgNO3 breaks to give Ag plus and NO3 minus, so this decomposition is very fast, and hence the Ag plus they split very fast, and therefore they gets deposited also very fast. And since the splitting and deposition is very fast, the uniform is not smooth, and it is also not uniform, okay. So it's not uniform and it's not smooth, hence we neglect AgNO3. Instead of that we use sodium argentocyanide, okay, understand? Okay, now this is the last part, and this is electro refining now, okay, electro refining of copper. So that means purification. So here in this case we take electrolyte as a copper sulfate solution, okay. So again we can understand it better in a diagram here. So the electrolyte here we are using copper sulfate solution, means copper sulfate plus water. Material of anode, that impure copper which we have to purify, we keep as anode. So this is impure and material of cathode is thin strip of pure copper. So it is a thin strip of pure copper. So this is pure copper. So this impure is kept as anode, and the pure copper is kept as cathode. So this is anode and this is cathode. Now electrolytic dissociation, again this copper sulfate will break into copper and hydrogen and so on. Now here reaction at anode, what will happen, again this copper and hydrogen, so from the copper sulfate Cu2 plus, copper sulfate Cu2 plus and SO4 2 minus, and water H plus and OH minus. Now out of this copper and hydrogen, copper will be discharged, so it will migrate towards cathode, and after migrating towards cathode it will gain electron and it will deposit. So it will deposit, so slowly it will deposit. And at anode what happens? Again anode, it's an impure copper, but it is copper, so maximum part contains is copper, and that is active electrode, so neither sulfate or hydroxyl will be discharged, so neither of them will discharge. But what will happen? This impure copper, from this impure copper will lose electron and it will furnish Cu2 plus ions, and so that means from this impure copper Cu2 plus ions will be released constantly. So you can understand the impurities will be left, and only the copper present in this impure copper, only the copper which is present in the impure copper will release electrons, and it will form Cu2 plus ions, and constantly, so you can say from this impure metal, from this impure copper, constantly Cu2 plus ion is getting mixed in this solution, and from the solution Cu2 plus is getting deposited here. So you can understand, if this process continue, all the copper that is present in this impure copper will change into copper ion and will be added up in the solution, and those copper ions which are in this solution, they are constantly going towards cathode and getting deposited as copper. So ultimately, if this process continue, all the copper from here will get out, and it will stick here. So finally, what will be left here? Finally, some impurities will be left. Impurities of other metals, or all earthly impurities that is present will be left behind, and this impurities that is left behind we will say as anode mud. Okay, anode mud. And ultimately, you can understand also that mass of anode will decrease here, and mass of cathode will increase. So these are the observation. So this is the end of electrolysis chapter. Okay, I hope you understood.